Good afternoon and welcome to the Formula for Wealth. And I am joined today by Sam Curtis from Future Properties Wales. Sam, good to have you on here.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. It's always a pleasure to have a chat.
Now, you and I have known each other only for a couple of years, really.
Yeah.
So, do you want to tell people how we met up?
Yeah, so I'm a utility web partner amongst other things, and a friend of mine, my upline, Hazel Thomas, once messaged me. Was very excited about something. I mean, she's quite excitable anyway, but she was more excited. She's more excited than normal, and she sent me a screenshot of the finance goals, the cash flow goals, and the asset growth, the net worth goals in this brand new course that she found, and they were like jaw dropping. Some of these targets for the investment group, and I just thought, we can have a chat about my journey to here, I guess, but I'm open-minded to this sort of thing. I'm certainly a damn so more business-minded than I ever used to be. Dare I say even entrepreneurial? I'm a full-time entrepreneur now anyway, I've got no choice. But yeah, so entrepreneurial. So, and this looked great. I mean, really, truly amazing. Truly incredible, some of the stuff she was talking about, and she was excited. I thought, if Hazel likes it, Hazel's really, really switched on, intelligent, ambitious, highly motivated. She really likes this, so I need to look at it. So I signed up to a course. This is sound like a plug for you, Karen. I mean, it is a plug for me because I love the course. The entrance fee was super low, and that is great because sometimes you can pay like crazy money for these courses, like 5 figures to do a property or investment course, which I think is shocking. That's another discussion, but very accessible. Went on the course, and obviously Karen was teaching the course.
So yeah,
and that's how we met. So
that's how we met. Yeah, it was. I know we had a couple of WhatsApp messages going first before then, though, didn't we? So we were getting to know each other offline before you came into the class.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and I don't think you knew what you'd. I don't think you knew what you'd let yourself in for, did you?
Well, no. I mean, it's a steep learning curve, and not in an unpleasant way. Like if you go to university or school, or like go up to secondary school, it's like a shock to the system, isn't it? With all the stuff you've got to learn, and it's uncomfortable. And it was certainly a heck of a lot to learn on the course. But I think, it's not something that you can't do. Anybody can do it. I think the main thing is, I think you told me this, Karen, is 80% mindset, 20% knowledge.
Yeah.
And the time-consuming bit for me with the whole investment journey was the mindset and the confidence. I mean, I'm fairly confident anyway, but that's developed. But you don't need to be super confident to do the course. It's just you just do it and learn about it.
And the thing I found was your background. You're an engineer, so you were trying to do everything around a full-time job, and it was a full-time job, I should say.
Yeah, that's right. So my training,
long hours, didn't you?
Yeah. So I've aerospace engineer by trade, contractor. I worked in Bristol, so lots of traveling, which is fine. I quite like driving. But to do the day job, and we got 2 little kids, there's only so much you can do. There's only so much time in the evenings you can do. There's only so many calls you can make in a day, like phoning estate agents, letting agents, or just, whatever. But physically doing the legwork in the evenings, like when the kids have gone to bed, that's what anybody wants to do. I don't think I'm particularly special in this sense, but you're at your desk at 10 o'clock and you fall asleep.
Yeah.
And just because you're trying to do your best to build your business, because I'm passionate, like truly passionate about where I want to be with my investments and my lifestyle. And you want to go the extra mile. But yeah, so it's not easy. It takes blowing ages. But, there you go.
So one of the things we cover is being in 4 categories. We've got business, property, shares, and bullion. So the first thing, you already had a business because you do network marketing.
Yeah, that's right. So the network. So my wife Lisa we always joke about this. She's the naturally switched one as an engineer, being sociable, we're not interested in that. We just want to do a spreadsheet. The reason we love spreadsheets is because you can hit a button and put a number in, and it gives you a green or a red. It's like a binary thing, and human relationships aren't like that. So that's why I loved it so much. At least as a sociable one, she was a real natural with network marketing. She'll talk to anybody, like anybody. But the training and the mindset the utility warehouse gives you is a fantastic starting point. In fact, Robert Kiyosaki says it's the best way to start being an entrepreneur is to join a network marketing company, because they'll teach you how to get the mindset. And a lot of the time the training is free, and it teaches you. And that was the starting point was UW. So we were doing that. I wasn't able to invest much of it because we already earmarked most of it for holidays and things. Because even though I had a pretty good job on the aerospace, there was never all that much left over at the end. 2 kids, mortgage, all that story. So the UW was the holidays and the extra stuff. So investment-wise, I couldn't really use it. So I had to think further than utility warehouse with the business side.
Yeah. So with a property, you already had a property, didn't you?
Yeah, so we were accidental landlords, like most landlords probably in the UK. We had me and Lisa moved in together in 2008. We got a really, a nice little 2-bed in Caerphilly. When I worked abroad for a bit, and luckily enough to work abroad, made enough money to get a deposit on a larger house, so we did that. But we were in negative equity at the time. We sold we were looking to sell in 2012, so it was still suffering the dip from the 2008 credit crunch, of course. And we kept it for a number of reasons. We weren't in a chain. We were in negative equity, so we kept it. And friends of ours at the time wanted to move in, and we wanted to help them. And, we had a good relationship with them at the time. And it seemed like a really nice thing to do. And she's still there. The fella's gone, but she's still there. And she's a good tenant. She's one of those things as a landlord. You want to have a nice tenant. She's polite, she's kind, and she informs us, and she's, and she always pays, which is, the main thing. But it's nice
It's really important when you got property.
It's nice. I always say I'd rather have someone. I mean, Kim is nice. I'd rather have someone who was a bit surly and always paid than someone who's really charming and never paid. But Kim is nice, so touch wood. God bless Kim. She's a good tenant.
So your journey on property sort of grew then, didn't it? So I know you attended some of the courses that we ran where we looked at, excuse me, how to do options, how to alternative ways of getting into property. So you sort of came on those courses, and then I know you sort of developed that a lot further, and that was the foundation for Future Property Wales. So
yeah,
what exactly do you do with that now?
So as again, part of one of the most eye-opening thing about your course is.
Yeah, I'm not here talking about
I'll talk about myself in the third person now as well. So Sam Curtis had a great journey in property. There was you did a day course. Was it a day or 2 days? I can't remember. Yeah. And as the course, you see the asset targets, the net worth targets, and you think that's just impossible. How on earth are you going to do that if you haven't got any money to start with? And that's really where the amazing property strategies are come in, like lease options, where you can own a house again, effectively control a house and put hardly any money down, and then benefit from you benefit, the seller benefits as well. That's the thing I like about lease options. You both benefit. So it's a really accessible way to get in. There's not lease options; they all grow on trees, but when you find them, they're really good. And there's other ways of obviously to building your property by things like rent to rent, where you're acting as a letting agent, really. So you've got to be compliant with all that, but you're acting as a letting agent, helping landlords fill their rooms and their multi-lets, their HMOs. So they're benefiting because they're getting guaranteed rent, and you're benefiting because you haven't put, not in the grand scheme of things, you put hardly any money down. But you can get really good cash flow by properties that you don't own, by controlling properties that you don't own. Which is, it's the same with Airbnb and what's the other one? What's the taxi place? What's the taxi? I should know this. The taxi, that taxi one everybody uses, Uber. So they're two companies, massive companies. They don't own the taxis. They don't own the the rooms, they're controlling them. They're getting cash flow from the things that they control. And that's why rent to rent's so great. So rent to rent and lease, same thing. You don't own it. Well, you own the lease in the end, but you can get the benefit without having to put the money down. And that's the sort of thing that you learn by doing an investment course like yours. It just opens your eyes to these things.
Now you've got rent to rent, so you're working on your rent to rent business, but you've also set up another part of the business where you're doing refurbs and flipping property.
Yeah, and that's, to me, like rent to rent, there's a lot of people doing rent to rent. It's a very popular, like, entry level property strategy. And even only like 3, 4, 5 years ago, there weren't many people doing it. There's a lot of people doing it now. So I've not, I've not got as many deals as I'd like, but I'm still working on it. But for me, the really tangible part of property is we're doing refurbs. So again, with contacts I've made as a result of doing the course, I've learned about how to budget a refurb, learned how to find deals that are good. So me and Lisa, Lisa had some cash. She had an inheritance. Her grandmother passed away. But because of the course that I've been, she'll often hear me going, talking to Karen or going on the courses, and she started to attend some of the events, like some of the free ones you go to. She goes to network and she listens in on all sorts. So she's been kind of as a sort of a secondary, by me learning about it, she's picked up on it and she's open to it now. And she's like, whereas if I hadn't done the course, I don't know what we would have spent the money on, an extension maybe. I don't think she would have wanted me to get a Lamborghini. It's selfish, really, isn't it? Not letting me get a Lambo, but because of the education experience and the contacts that we both made, really as a result of the starting point was this course. She's open to it now. She does the viewing. She runs the numbers. She's not a numbers person really. She's switched on, but not like me.
Have you written a spreadsheet for her yet?
Do you know what? I've written a spreadsheet. But Lisa really likes a spreadsheet. So she fills it in when she sees deals because she sees a number come up like, oh, this is how much profit we're likely to make. Yeah. And that's an interesting spreadsheet, isn't it? If it's really tangible and you can, you understand, you stick a numbers in, boom, a number comes out. You have to do a heck of a lot of viewings to get a good deal, but when you do them, we can do it. We know how to do it now. And you can also pay property sources to find the deals for you, which is another thing. So, and that's really exciting. We've had an offer accepted. We're hoping to start it. It's one of those areas where we don't have to do much to it, but there should be a good resale value, which again, we worked out. And Lisa's all for it, and we're both together. And we're actually on the same path for things. So
it's always good when you've got your husband or your wife on the same train of thought as you are, rather than having to work around them or go against what they want. So if you've got that partnership together, it always works much better.
When you read the books, like the Napoleon Hill book, Think and Grow Rich, one of his main strategies is the mastermind. The mastermind principle. So people working in harmony on the same goal, 2 or more, but not like loads of us, but 2 or maybe 2 to 10 people working on the same goal is extremely powerful. And husband and wife teams work really well if you're both aligned, because obviously you're both, we work from the same financial pot, basically speaking, and we can really capitalize on that and grow that far better than we could in any other way. So it's really exciting.
How do you split it up then? So does Lisa find the property deals, or do you find the deals, and how do you get that to work?
Yeah, that's a good question. So when we started doing it, we met a property sourcer, really energetic local guy, Steph Owens, and he was the final piece in the puzzle, really, because all the things that I've been missing, I do my research and you learn stuff on the course, but there's always little things mentally that you're missing. And so he filled, it was the last piece. Me and Lisa both met him. So we did loads and loads of viewings. And we run, we book a viewing, because speed is of the essence when you're looking at properties in the valleys. It's speed, really, above anything else. So you need to be quick. But what I found was, so I do loads of viewings, And Lisa would make a couple of calls to some letting agents, and they'd be the best deals almost every time. So the way I see it now, Lisa's like the charisma and the money, and I run the numbers and read the books. So in that sense, so it's So I think it's about relationships with the letting agents and the agents. Sorry, they're not the letting agents, it's the agents.
So your business is now sourcing property deals for clients?
We've done it in the past. We are now, like, unofficially, we've done it now. I've done the money, I've done all my compliancy training. A lot of that we teach on your course, but the final couple of pieces I've only just put into place. So hopefully in a month's time, we'll be fully compliant, licensed property sources, and we can find properties. And I know exactly what to do it. It's just a lot of legwork to find the deals. So yeah, we can do that. Moving forward, how much time we spend doing that, I don't know, but it's certainly a really powerful thing to be able to do, to find good deals and source them on. It's a great way to get cash flow and have to put, well, again, not that much money down to do it.
So if people want to get in contact with you to find out a little bit about what you actually do with the properties, or to look at some of the deals you've got, what's the best way for them to get hold of you?
So I'm a keen networker. If anybody listens to this and wants to contact me and ask anything about the property source, I'm more than happy to do that. Probably the best way is my email. So I don't know whether you're going to put a link in one of the things, or I'll read my email out now.
If you give your email now, and I'll try and include it in the link in the bottom as well.
Yeah, so my email is sam@futurepropertieswales.co.uk. I'll just say that again. So it's sam@futurepropertieswales.co.uk. Like I said, I'm a key networker. I'm happy to talk to anybody who's business-minded or property-minded, property people, because you never know how we could help each other or how we could work together. So yeah, or even if you just want to ask questions, if you want to get started in sourcing, because I guess a lot of people who are starting their journey in property, sourcing is a really good way to start, because it teaches you have to learn about how to find the deals. You've got to be able to find deals and find money. So if you can do one of those by being a property sourcer, I can help you with all that. And we've got systems in place now that make it relatively easy, relatively simple, I should say. It's not easy doing 40 viewings and getting one deal, but it's simple, and I can help with that. So yeah, I'm more than happy to do that.
So, like you said, you're a networker. So you do how many sort of networking events would you go to?
So I've always done one. When I started doing utility warehouse, I've always done one in Bristol, which is called Working Breakfast, which is fully online now.
Yeah.
And will probably continue to be online when they start doing it face-to-faces again. There's a really good one, Harvey Bowes webinar. I think it's once a month on a Wednesday. That's brilliant. There's some pure gold in that. And he organizes events sometimes. Well, with the current guidelines with COVID, it's all socially distanced and that, but he does do that. Brilliant for networking. The webinars are sort of one way, so that you just get the information, but the events are all like brilliant for networking. I've met a couple of people who could be really potentially powerful allies for property. And then there's the PIN meetings as well, Property Investor Network meetings. There's a Cardiff one, they're all dotted all over the place. So they're the ones I go to the most. And yeah, I think,
not just for the properties, but for the, I suppose, the expertise and the way of learning all about everything.
So if I've understood you correctly on this, I think like network meetings are a great way to meet people, obviously. But anybody, if someone says, oh, talk to so-and-so, they're really good, you don't need to go to a network meeting to network. It makes you get a lot of people in the same room. But if you just try and speak to as many people as you can in whatever sensible means that is, I think that's just as good. And some people, like natural introvert, I'm an introvert really. I like especially not talking to people. Well, that was the old me really. I'm better now. But you can do networking on your own terms if you just speak to people, however that is, like one-to-ones, and who do you know who does this? Well, I know this and this, talk to them. You talk to them, who do you know? That's another 4 names, 8 names, 16 names. But that's another way of doing it. some people are more comfortable with that than being in a big room full of people, and I understand that.
So, Future Properties Wales, what's the path you intend to take with it?
So what we're going to do, so we're still working on getting as many rent-to-rent deals as possible. That's a great way to cash flow, and I still want to do that.
Building your own portfolio as well as
yeah. So okay, so the rent-to-rent is nice for cash flow, but really the real value, I think, the long-term value is with leases on board. We got a little bit of cash. We're going to do refurbs. We're going to. My goal is to do 2 refurbs, 2 flips. Flip is a vulgar word, really. So 2 refurb and sale, and then another refurb, but hold it, because we make sure all of our properties. Again, this is something Steph Owen helped me with, and also stuff that you cover on the course. You've got to have capital growth in the UK. Capital growth will pretty much happen anyway. Yeah. Some places will be better than others, and again, if I know how to predict that now. I think I know how to predict it. But you got to make sure the cash flow. They got to make sure the cash flow at like a 3% mortgage, because everything, like, you're gonna have to remortgage it to refinance to get the money out. But we also stress test them as well at a higher rate of interest. We use 5.5% to make sure that the rent is 25% higher than what we're paying out. Yeah. Again, I know I won't bore you with the details, but basically we stress test it. And if you're doing that, it doesn't matter whether the market's going up or down. It'll always cash flow. It'll always be positive, either really positive or a little bit positive. And it'll always go up. If you're prepared to wait 10 or 20 years, it'll always go up, but it'll always cash flow no matter what happens, providing nothing terrible happens. In touch wood, we never thought COVID would happen, did we? But yeah, so that's what we want to do.
It's really good, because when you go for a mortgage, the lender will do that anyway, because as well. So the more that you're doing that pre-work, the easier it's going to be for you to actually get a mortgage if you want to get a mortgage on
exactly. If you, like, one of Lisa's friends is a mortgage advisor, and she gave her that one, and that. So if you know what their criteria are, you might as well just use the same criteria, because if the big financial organisations are setting their stress test at this level, you might as well just do the same thing.
Yeah.
But I think. And then, so we're going to do 2 refurbs to get the cash flow and hold one, and keep doing that. And then maybe in future years, when we've got a bigger pot, we just might hold them all. I don't know. That's my current plan. And then get as many rent-to-rents tuck them in as they come in.
Well, that's all you do, because like you said, it comes down to cash flow. And rent-to-rent will give you cash flow. Okay, we won't use the flip word. We're going to say we're going to refurbish, renovate, or refurbish and sell. And that gives you capital growth. So that brings a lot of extra cash in, which allows you to, like you said, build as well as source properties for others, because you're always balancing it and it's growing on both sides.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's the cash flow. Cash flow is the thing you want to build up. I think the growth, the assets, and the capital growth is something you think about for the future, maybe. But it's building the cash flow, which is why, like, the rent-to-rents are good, because you one rent-to-rent. If you have like a 6-bed HMO, could cash flow £600 a month. You think about that, £600 a month from one deal, and you haven't had to put much. Let's see, a few thousand down to get the deal, maybe. But £600 a month is a crazy amount for a cash flow for not really that much risk.
I know, and they're not that difficult. When you understand, they're not that difficult to get into. Sometimes I think people put this barrier up to stop themselves from moving forward to be able to do some of these things.
And that's completely understandable, because we're taught, really, like, human beings are naturally skeptical and apathetic creatures, frankly, and both of those things don't really work in property. So, I completely understand. I mean, it's only really now in the last, probably through lockdown, was really focused my mind, that you think, actually, yeah, all the old barriers kind of had to go. They had no choice. But I understand if anybody's not new to this, and you're thinking, it's all too frightening, it's all too scary. I was in the same place only a year ago, even when I was learning full speed ahead with the rent learning how to do it, I was still thinking, there's no way I can do this. How could I possibly, blah, blah, blah. It's natural. So you just got to, I think if your reason for doing something strong enough, you'll find a way to get rid of the barriers.
Yeah.
Really, it's having that you need to have a reason why you're doing it, a strong reason why you're doing it. I think that's the key. That's the one thing you need, really.
So with Future Property Wales, are you focusing on a specific type of property, or are you being a bit more general in what you're doing?
We started off being pretty general. I mean, essentially, it was geography that started limited us first. We thought, well, we're just going to go for like half an hour radius, which is something that's a good idea anyway. We're lucky we live in the South Wales area, which is a really great way to invest. And the places we were looking at first that we could afford with our little pot of cash was the classic valleys terraces. As we're moving on, we found, again, this is down to Lisa's charisma and to just the relationship she's got. We've got some investors, people who want to help us on our journey and invest some money, which is another great skill. Again, this is Lisa. I'm kind of gutted that she's dropped in, like, oh, let's just do this. Boom, it's a leap of success. And then, but it's a teamwork, and it's a team at the end of the day, isn't it? So back to the strategy then, but I'm starting to look at data. Being an engineer, I love data. And I'm starting to look at the areas that are going to give us the best rentals, that are likely to have the best growth in the future. And then having that guide us, rather than just say, oh, well, whatever we can find within this radius, because frankly, that's all we've done so far. Yeah. When we get more targeted, we know which are the best areas. We know if any of our contacts want to invest in that area and work with an investor who says, well, I want properties here, please find them here. That's better as a source for them to go wild looking all over the place, which is really what we have been doing. So as we get better contacts, we know which areas the investors like. And as our data develops, we know which areas are going to give us the best growth in the future. As postcode regions, doing it by postcode using Zoopla. And again, if anybody wants advice or help on this, I can tell you at least what I've done, and it'll help you. I'm not saying I'm an expert by any means, but I think I'm on the right track, and I can show you, or certainly tell you what not to do anyway. So yeah, that'll guide us. That'll be our plan in the future.
That's often all you need is someone just to point you in the right direction, and then you leap forward, and then you come to something that you don't understand, you get guidance again, and then you can leap forward into the next.
I think that's one of the things I value most. Oh, sorry, I cut you off at the end then.
That's all right. No, carry on.
One of the things I value most about doing your course, obviously you get the background, you get the theoretical stuff, you do the classroom stuff, is the confidence to proceed with things like this. Like, if we've mainly built up our network over the last couple of years, but I'll say, Karen, I need help with this. Like you had a contact, will help me out with my compliancy. A brilliant contact. And so I say, oh, Karen, can you help with so-and-so? Or I'll tell you what I'm doing every month when we have our meetings, and you'll say, well, that's a good idea, that's a bad idea. Or you should do this rather, this is a bad idea. Well, have you tried this?
I never think it's a bad idea, because you've got...
No, you don't. It's not, but it's like... Oh,
what doesn't work for one person works for somebody else.
And I mean, part of it as well, part of your journey is making your own mistakes. Like with, again, with your network and your guidance and the people that we meet along the way, touch wood, you won't make any huge catastrophic mistakes. I think there's enough knowledge with property and with the stuff we've learned on the course, you're not going to do that, because you just, if you went in cold, it's like designing an airplane. If you went in and said, I'm going to design a hang glider, as a complete novice, there's some pretty dangerous things that could happen.
Mine would never fly.
But if you even know that this, but even if it did fly, let's make it out of. Anyway, I don't want to talk about airplanes, but you get the idea. There's enough knowledge. There's a pretty big safety net, really. You'll make cock-ups along. You'll embarrass yourself. You'll lose some money, probably, but that's just it. That's just investing. But hopefully, you won't lose too much. Sorry.
Won't learn too much.
It's when you learn, the stuff you learn is when I say that the people you meet, by the networking, the people you meet someone who's got a bit of knowledge or a bit of expertise. That's when I make the biggest progress, or me and Lisa make the biggest progress, because you'll meet someone like you or Steph Owens or Hazel for Utility Warehouse. It'll like be a step change in your success. And that's really what drives it. That's why I'm just so keen on networking.
You have to be ready for that change. So you were obviously looking for that change, and you met the people that you needed at that time. And that's what I think happens, is you move forward because you meet the right people at the right time.
Yeah.
Subconsciously, you're looking for it.
Well, if you've got a final goal in mind, I'm not going to go too much into this, but if you've got a goal in mind that you can kind of picture, your brain will start looking at ways that you can fulfill that. And when someone comes into your life and says, "Oh, I know a bit about property sourcing," boom, you're on it. Yeah. Because that's where your mind wants to be. So I think, well, you've got to be ready. Like I could have had a chat with Steph Owens or yourself at any other time in my life, and it not meant much. Yeah. But it's, when you've got a common goal or something that you can both help each other with, then that's when it really happens, I think.
So property is going well for you now.
Yeah, I like to think so.
This is going well for you.
Yeah.
We've got shares.
Yeah.
Dare I ask?
So I've there's two parts to this story. There's my own personal shambolic, like exploration into shares. I like to buy high and sell. That's my strategy. But no, so obviously on the course we teach about how to do shares in a sensible way, and for various reasons, I've not been that successful with the shares. I think I've put some money onto my shares that I've chosen myself, but I'm still too emotionally connected with the shares. I haven't learned to detach myself from it yet. I think when I've got more disposable income from the property, I'll have more faith to put it into the shares. I've done some really silly things with shares. The one thing I have done though, and this isn't part of the course, I've got a financial advisor who my sort of life savings from my engineering stuff is with, and that's basically shares, isn't it? That's a portfolio of shares that he runs, and I've been paying into that for years, and that's doing really well. And look at the projections, and we're made on that alone, just because if you start early enough, even if you don't want to do investment, you don't want to learn about investment, find someone who knows about it that can help you, because they don't, in the grand scheme of things, they don't charge much money to get in, and you can.
I think, and you've touched on it there, and it actually surprises me, because you're an engineer who's used to looking at and analysing data, and yet you said you've attached yourself to shares. So you haven't actually applied what would be your normal process for looking at things.
Not yet. I think, it's still, I've been focusing mostly on the business and the property. The gold, I don't know whether we've got enough time to talk about the gold, but so most of my effort and mental energy is property. And again, when I get the money, I'll start finding out more about the shares. I don't think you need to know a hell of a lot. If you're investing rather than trading, I don't think I need to know a hell of a lot. You just need to research, do the right research, and you'll be fine then. But
yeah,
I've had a little bit of money. This is a dead cert. I'm gonna plow my money into this one dead cert share, and obviously, you know what's gonna happen next.
There's no such thing as a dead cert share, is there?
Oh, but there is. No, there's not.
So again, what you're saying is you have found two areas that are working really well for you, and you focus and you build those areas up.
Yeah.
And I think that's just showing, because you've got to be in the right place at the right time with the right mindset to do the stuff that you want to do. And you're doing that with your property.
Yeah. And all the other stuff. I mean, the bullion and the shares, they'll come again when we get enough more income from the property. You can start feeding that into the bullion. I mean, bullion, shiny things are, I think, intrinsically interested, invested in gold and silver.
And so that pretty well.
Yeah, so I'm building on that slowly. as you know, Karen.
As I know,
yeah, it's just so it's just as you saw on the course, you've got to invest in all four categories. Property is the one that is people think of first, and the other stuff will come with time. But really, it's like it's investing in the four categories gives you the safety net, doesn't it? If one goes up, by definition, another one will go down, or vice versa. So you're always covered.
You're always covered, yeah. So Sam, we're coming to the end of our time. Your property business. Obviously, that's what we were here mainly to talk about, is your property business. So what do you want to achieve with that? We've already given your email address. How do you believe you can help other people?
So I think, so I'm thinking from an analytical point of view. I've got a lot of the spreadsheets. I've jumped through a lot of the hoops. I know the things that you need to do. If you want to be a property sourcer, I can really help with that. I can help you with the analysis of any deals. You don't need to be a property sourcer to benefit from knowing how to analyze a deal. Lease options, I've figured out a way to work those out, again, with Karen's help in the early days. So the analysis, I enjoy it. I like data. I know it sounds a bit sad, but I like data. It interests me. It amuses me greatly. If I can watch, it's like, I say, like predicting the future, which, you've got a graph. You know what the graph's going to do next. And for me, that's exciting, especially when you can correlate it to cash. And yeah, but I'd happily talk to anybody. Certainly, if you've got this far on the video, thank you, because I bore myself sometimes. But if you've got this far, then yeah, I'd be happy to chat if you want to talk about how to analyze deals and things.
Compliances.
Yeah.
Now, I know there's been a few tricky ones that you need to do to basically be a sourcer.
Yeah.
Need to do. And I assume you can help people if they to understand what the compliances are that they need to go through.
Yeah, I can. You have to put a bit of money. More than you think. You think property source, you can just jump in and do for nothing, but you have to put some money down. You have to be registered. Again, I can contact me if you want to do this. I can tell you all the things are. You've got to be registered with the property ombudsman. You've got to be Rent Smart Wales. Anti-money laundering, that's fun. And then professional indemnity insurance, all this kind of stuff. It's not that many really, and I think looking back, it probably wasn't that difficult. But it just takes time. Now, because of COVID, I've had a lot of time to do this kind of stuff, and it's come forward really quickly. So I understand if it'll take ages if you're just trying to do it part-time, but it can be done. And when you've got it, you can be confident. I mean, I'm come from an aerospace background. Compliance is extremely important. I'm not saying, I mean, you need to be a bit creative with the properties and the deals, and you can't be too prescriptive about that. But from a compliancy, I think, it's just an unnecessary risk to yourself. If a deal goes sour, because if you do enough, one of them will go bad. If you're doing dozens of these things, and you have the proper protection in place is really important. So it's a bit of a pain in the backside to start with, frankly, but I think it's essential. You can't be too fast and loose about it. You just get yourself into trouble.
Good advice there, Sam. So if anybody wants to follow up with Sam and find out more about Future Property Wales and what they're up to, you can contact Sam at futurepropertieswales.co.uk. So Sam, thanks for coming on here. It's been real fun chatting to you. We usually have a little bit of a laugh, so yeah, it's been really great. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Karen. Thanks for the chance. It's been good having a chat about it.